As you may or may not know, there's a former site in Chillicothe called Wherever, which is now operated by Howmet. The type of industrial work there was related to aluminum, and the end result of those operations many years ago was contamination of soil. The Ohio EPA and Howmet and Pixel have known for many years that the existence of that plume, that's the contamination, and its location was impacted by wells that were operated by Pixel. And going back several years, the EPA posed to Howmet the question, what happens if the wells operated by Pixel no longer operate? And the idea there being that those wells, even though that they were not related to Howmet's operations, because of their location in the ground and hydraulics and things that are well beyond what I understand, impacted the location and the migration or lack thereof of that plume. And so for several years, the EPA has known that if those wells, which are 17 and 18 at the Pixel site, stopped operating, there may be a impact on the plume that was created by Howmet. So that's the reporting that you've seen here recently. I just want to give a few facts related to the whole situation. So first and foremost, Pixel, if and when they stop operating, have to go through a formal process that is done with the approval of the EPA, which is called a cessation of regulated operations. So when they complete that process, their task is to remove contaminated machinery, anything that is contaminated at that site. And so cessation of operations can mean a couple things. One, cessation of operations can mean we stop making paper, but that doesn't mean that the wells necessarily stop operating. So the wells, when they stop operating, if and when, there's a potential impact on that plume, and that's what's been studied in the past. Simultaneously, Howmet has been required by the Ohio EPA to analyze, and there's already a report that's projected the possibility of what happens if these wells shut down. But Howmet is essentially tasked with figuring out what happens if the wells shut down, and then on top of that, being partners in with the EPA, a remediation, an ongoing new remediation concept. So in this situation, the remediation or the management of that plume was essentially aided by a different entity, that being Pixel. And so Howmet is tasked with figuring out what the new solution is for the remediation of that soil. They've also been asked by the Ohio EPA to create new ground monitoring wells to monitor what is happening with this plume in a way that's not happening at the level that EPA wanted. So we've got a situation that has been known about for a long time, and there are projections. If you read the report, the projected migration of the plume is to the southeast of the current location. But I think that the concern for the city of Chillicothe, for the residents of Ross County and Chillicothe, is making sure that we are safe and we are healthy. And so that's what I myself and the utilities department have been focused on, is making sure that regardless of the nomenclature, the words being used, that we are safe and healthy. And so first and foremost, we wanted to make sure that our drinking water is safe. And so just to give you a sense, we're talking about a location on the southeast side of town with Howmet and Pixel. It's over 2 miles from where we get our source of drinking water. So we get our drinking water from wells that are drilled in Yaktanchi Park, right? More than 2 miles from where this plume is today. And so our water is as safe today as it was a couple years ago, and as safe as it will be, according to the EPA, even if these wells stop performing. That being said, we are in support of the EPA's efforts to A, increase ground monitoring, because we want to make sure nothing's moving, and it's not moving in a manner that would be adverse to the city or our safety. And two, that we want to hold Howmet's feet to the fire on remediation, right? That, like I said, the hydraulics and the scientific nature of how these things move, beyond me, but we want to make sure that the EPA holds Howmet's feet to the fire, making sure that we can rest assured that we remain safe. I've been asked about the impact on the wastewater treatment plant, which is much closer to our drinking water source than, I'm sorry, the plume is closer to the wastewater treatment plant than it is to the water treatment plant. And so, just to give you an idea, we flush our toilets, water goes down the drain, it runs through pipes, it goes to the wastewater treatment plant, the water is treated, and it goes into the river, right? So the proximity of a plume, even if it was on adjacent property to the wastewater treatment plant, which it's not, doesn't pose any additional threat to any of our health and safety, right? Because A, it's not going into the pipes that are going to the wastewater treatment plant, and if it did, they'd be treated before it went out to the river. So we're talking about stuff that's in the ground, it's not really entering or getting near or closer to the wastewater treatment plant, but if it did, it wouldn't be a concern for us. So the main concern is making sure that A, the EPA stays on top of Howmet to make sure this thing isn't moving around, to make sure that the hypothetical scenarios which have been studied either become true or not in terms of migration, and then just finally for us making sure that we are our residents are safe. Now that is, for better or for worse, not a highly residential area, but our main concern would be any residents in that area are safe, right? Because there's a lot of industrial type of work in that area. But our concern is first and foremost with the residents. We've addressed the drinking water concerns, and so anything beyond that would be any type of soil contamination, anything like that, that could or would affect any residents. So those are the type of things we're staying on top of. We have, as a city, a lot of interaction with the Ohio EPA. We communicate with them daily on the rehabilitation and current status of the wastewater treatment facility. Ammonia levels, we're reporting to them daily what's going on over there. We work with them in terms of the cleanliness and the health and safety of the water that comes out of the water treatment plant. Every year, you can find it on our website, we produce a report about our water quality in the city of Chillicothe. And then we have things that go on that most people don't even realize. For example, the city used to own a landfill, and we are obligated to monitor that landfill. In fact, I remember when I was the city auditor, there was something like 10 years left of monitoring requirement, and I remember thinking, oh great, in 10 years we won't have to pay this cost anymore to provide monitoring. Well, over time, as you might imagine, science evolves, and the things that they wanted us to monitor 40 years ago at this landfill, science evolves, and you can imagine things that we weren't even aware of that could cause problems 40 years ago, we become aware of. The monitoring levels change, and so our monitoring of that former landfill site, which hasn't been operational in decades, is ongoing, and we pay, I don't know, this year probably $40,000 to pay for monitoring of that site. So we have a lot of interaction with the EPA on multiple levels, frankly on a daily basis, and that's the type of thing that the community might not be front on our mind as lay people, but we have a lot of confidence, and you often hear the reverse. So no, the EPA has they're annoying, or they've got too many regulations, or that sort of thing. Well, in this situation, it's a very positive thing, their level of engagement with this situation. And so, if and when there are updates, I will provide them to the community. But I just wanted to offer some clarity. And again, I apologize, my scientific acumen is not, I'm not a scientist, but I tried to sort of relay it in the way that I understand the situation. So I will continue, and I think that the Ohio EPA, State of Ohio, well aware, and I imagine we'll get communications from them as well. But I think especially for the folks on that side of town, that's our number one priority, knowing that the drinking water is a safe distance from the plume site. Making sure that residents in that area are safe is my top concern. And every communication we've had from the Ohio EPA to today leads me to be confident that those residents are safe today and will continue to be safe even if wells 17 and 18 stop operating. But I'm reassured because we've been planning ahead for this for quite a few years. Moving on to some other items of note, nothing quite as significant as that, but we have a couple road closures starting tomorrow. At the base of Bellevue, the road will be closed for some water line repair, initial work. So that, just be aware in your commute tomorrow, Bellevue will be closed. And then our annual paving program is starting up tomorrow. I think that tomorrow it begins in Naples Orchard. So that'll be tomorrow as well. Another note, we have started construction on the salt shed, which has been a frustrating situation for us, but I thank council for for sticking with it. As a reminder, we got a grant to construct that salt shed over on Rennick Avenue. This is to keep our salt covered in inclement weather, and the pricing on bids just kept coming back higher than we anticipated after our engineers' estimates. So that construction is underway, which means that our salt will be under cover for this winter season. The Pepsi garage, have I talked too long? The battery's dying. The Pepsi garage construction is complete. Both Service Department and Parks and Recreation are in the facility. Utilities are the next to move, and we're working through some IT issues to get them fully out of the property on Park Street and into the Pepsi garage, so that's moving along nicely. And I'll conclude with just a note. The water rates that were voted on to increase a couple council meetings ago, there'll be a notice that goes on the bills in August, and that 2% water rate increase will go on the bill. First bill will be recognized on the bill in September. And that concludes my report.